Yo, what is up everybody? Joshua Casper back at you with Plugin Boutique, and today we're checking out a brand new plugin from Sonible called Smart Limit. Smart Limit, as you might have guessed from the name, is a smart limiter. What it does is it listens to the track you're working on. Generally, you're going to have this on your master channel or be working with the pre-master inside of your DAW. It listens to that and then makes decisions on how it should be limited, aka how much of a ceiling you should have, how much gain reduction you should have, what your loudness should be, what your dynamics should be, and overall, it just gives you a ton of information, but in general, does most of it for you when you let it do its thing automatically. Of course, just like any other good plugin, you do have access to different targets, you do have access to different algorithms, and then you have further tools to sculpt the sound to your liking. Let's go ahead and jump into it, checking out Smart Limit from Sonible. All right, so this is Smart Limit here on the screen in its default setting. To get to the default setting, you just come over here and click default. You can also save certain presets if you want, user-made presets, but we don't need to do that for this video because we have a lot of automatic presets for us. Let's listen to the track I'm working on. I'm just gonna go ahead and bypass Smart Limit for a second. Let's just hear it. You already heard it in the beginning of the video, but just to give you another idea. It's a pretty chill, pretty poppy track. So what we want to do in here is come in and choose or prime the algorithm to know what it's about to listen to. We can just stick with universal if we're not sure or we don't care, or maybe universal just gives the best results. But in general, you want to help the algorithm before it even starts to know what it's going to be listening to. So for this track, I'd probably say it's more pop than hip hop, maybe R&B, but I'm just going to come into pop. And then we have different time periods of pop. I'm just going to come into the 2010s. All right. And you can see right off the bat, it's already made an adjustment over here, but let's not worry about that right now. The next thing we want to do is hit the arm button. So it's listening, and then just play the audio until the bar goes ahead and fills right up and gives us our process signal. Taking a smile to your pockets. You got me, you got me, you and I'm losing to you, I'm a sinner. Okay, so it's listened to the audio, it's applied its algorithms, it's applied its machine learning, and made decisions about the ceiling here, which is -1. It's made decisions about the input gain. It's also set the attack time to a fairly long one, which is generally good if you want things to be punchy. It's set the release to auto. And it's also adjusted the style, saturation, balance, and bass control as well. It's already done all of that, but some other things we need to pay attention to is where are we going to be putting this audio? So you can see right here, I've got it on Spotify. This is a pretty standard source when people are mastering their music. If you're actually paying or mastering, you're going to want your music on Spotify. That's just where you get discovered. That's where you get your plays and so on. But obviously, maybe you're looking to sell on iTunes, stream on a higher quality service like Tidal, or maybe you're someone inside a film who's looking to deliver to Netflix or HBO. All of these are presets inside of here that we can choose from. And of course, we can make our own, like I said before. But let's just go ahead and leave it on Spotify for now. So the target LUFS for Spotify, I've said in a million videos, it's -14. And Smart Limit will let us know if we're hitting that. And the way to do that is you come down here to quality check. If I turn this on, look at this. It's actually got green check marks across the board, except for over here, it does say that Spotify will turn the track down by 4.3 decibels. That's just something we need to keep in mind so you're not blown away when you hear it over there on the thing. Now, that doesn't mean we need to change the output gain. We just need to know that that's what's going to happen in the reality of uploading to Spotify. So let's go ahead and just make some adjustments here. I'm just going to pull this down, play the audio. Taking a smile. Okay, now this is a case of Smart Limit saying, listen, we've listened to the track, we have what you're aiming for with the pop 10s and Spotify, and it's just saying, try increasing the input gain to reduce the dynamics a little bit. So it's saying the dynamics are too far apart. Also, what that's saying is we can get it to sound louder if we just squash some things. Okay, and again, it's giving you this information. This is actionable information, and you need to decide whether or not that's right for your track. But let's just say, yeah, that sounds about right. We can also pay attention over here in the LUFS meter or the loudness gauge and see where it's actually hitting over here. Remember, for Spotify, we want to be around -14.
pockets. You got me, you win.
So we are actually around -14, but because of how stripped back the track is, Smart Limit is correctly identifying the big changes in dynamics. This isn't like an EDM track where it's huge bass, huge synth, consistent drums, and a vocal. This is a very chilled, laid back track. So we need to make a decision on whether or not we want to boost that input gain, which will cause gain reduction, which will make things sound louder.
Drawing lines on a window. Take my smile to your pocket. You got me, you win. I'm losing to you, I'm a sinner. Time.
So again, really we're only getting gain reduction when the bass and the kick happens at the same time. What we're looking to do is make it sound good while getting it sound loud in comparison to what else is going to be uploaded to Spotify, but still sound like the track we want it to sound like in the end. And I'm going to leave it right around 5.2 for a second.
Drawing lines.
Or maybe we can check out that R&B algorithm.
Drawing lines on a window. Take my smile to your pockets. You got me, you win. I'm losing to you.
All right, so now we got green check marks across the board, and that's actually where I had the gain slider before we even did the new R&B algorithm. Perfect. What I'm going to do is just go ahead and turn off quality check for a second. If we bypass,
Drawing lines on a window.
we do get that big jump in gain. We can actually bypass that by hitting constant gain, and then we can bypass the plugin itself and listen for changes in the dynamics, distortion if it's happening, or how clean and transparent things actually are. And trust me when I say this, Smart Limit does a great job at being transparent. So we can hear that now that we have constant gain activated here.
Drawing lines on a window. Take my smile to your pockets. You got me, you win.
That's really cool. Now, another thing I want to point out is if you have constant gain enabled and turn on quality check, it won't ever stop giving you this. If you want the quality check to listen and give you feedback, you need to turn constant gain off. At least that's what has happened in my experience while using Smart Limit since I've got it. Now, there are some other cool things I just want to point out for you. We have, first of all, up to 8 different instances. So if we want to check out a different algorithm, we could just flip over to 2 and maybe throw it on pop 90s, run it, and then we can flip back and forth between the 2 and very quickly and easily hear the differences there. We also have distortion monitoring, which will show us if there's any distortion happening and where it is happening over the frequency spectrum.
Drawing lines on a window. Take my smile to your pocket.
And then we also have hard or soft. And what I want you to pay attention to is the gain reduction meter up here at the top.
Drawing lines on a window. Take my smile.
Do you see how the curve of the release, for example, is changing as I change between hard and soft? Hard are going to be more jagged lines, which means your gain reduction is happening very quickly and then going away very quickly. And if you have it on more of a soft, things will be a little bit more mellow and the gain reduction will go away a lot slower, which will even things out even more. So this is going to depend on the style of music you're working with, how much of gain reduction you have, and essentially it's a taste thing at this point. Saturation introduces saturation, and what it does is when you introduce saturation, it actually increases the frequencies inside of a signal. And if you do that, you can actually make things sound louder. This is why I've been saying for years, don't sleep on saturation, because by filling up the frequency range with extra harmonic information, aka saturation, you can actually fill it up and make it sound louder. And the parameter here inside of Smart Limit does a really great job at this.
Drawing lines on a window. Take my smile to your pocket. You got me, you win.
Do you hear the big jump in perceived loudness there? Well, I guess it's not perceived loudness because we are actually adding frequency content into the mix, but we're doing it on a harmonic level, so it's not overly distracting until we get actually, I'd say right around 70 is where we start beyond the audibly hear sort of distortion and crackling. Let's just introduce it real fast again.
Drawing lines on a window. Take my smile to your pocket. You got me, you and I. I'm losing to you, I'm a sinner. Time, taking my mind, I'll never see you in the dark.
So for me, somewhere around 36 is doing a great job making it sound louder without becoming distracting. And that's what saturation is and how it can be used in the mastering process. It's such a great feature to have inside of here. And the saturation algorithm, whatever they're used inside of Smart Limit, is very, very pleasing to hear. Balance improves the spectral balancing and can help tame resonances to give your track a sort of polished feel. Let's go ahead and introduce that and see what it sounds like.
Drawing lines on a window. Take my smile to your pocket. You got me, you and
And again, I would say having it too much almost makes it thin out a little bit. It's actually removing too many resonances. Resonances aren't always bad. We've talked about this in previous videos, but if they're there and too abundant, they can be very distracting to the ear. So I think right around 27 is where I'd leave it. Finally, we have bass control over here, which just enhances the low end, giving your signal a cleaner, tighter feel to it.
drawing lines on a window. Take my smile to your pocket. You got me, you.
So these 4 parameters down here at the bottom are really all about preference. Okay, I'm listening to this track. I know how I want it to sound, and I'm deciding, I like the way the bass pretty much sounds as is. I did a good job, in my opinion, before I got to my limiting stage. So I don't really need to do anything by way of taming the bass notes here or tightening them up because they're already pretty tight, in my opinion, of course. But it is there to have in case you're a mastering engineer that needs to fix someone's mistakes or deal with a problem area down there in the lower end of the frequency. It's just great to have it there. And really, all in all, this plugin is absolutely phenomenal. If you're someone that self-publishes or someone that's looking to get clients to do mastering for them, I would highly suggest checking out Smart Limit if you can. Links in the video description as always. I'm Joshua Casper. I hope you learned something, and I'll see you in the next video.
Stay this night with me. I only knew I want you by my side. I'm searching for perfect.